What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another review for Monday Night Raw. This one is from December 11th, 1995, the last stop before In Your House. Let's see what they do to build interest. The first match of the night is Owen Hart versus a young, sober Jeff Hardy. Diesel in the back watching the match as he's taking on Owen at the pay per view. The wife of Bulldog also in the crowd watching on, aka Owen's sister. Anyways, short match, Owen picks up the win with a roll up. After the match, Yokozuna bonsai drops Jeff, and then Owen puts him in the sharpshooter. Diesel runs out for the save, Owen runs away, and Diesel takes out Yokozuna. So Diesel playing a tweener here, just kind of seeing where to go after losing the WWF Championship. So we'll see a little bit more what they play into going into the months ahead. But next up, we have Asha Kong versus someone I'm guessing was just brought into job, but they gave her a better introduction than most jobbers and a little bit of offense. Asha Kong spikes power drives Chaparrita Asari, but she lifts her up before the 3 count. Does the same thing after a standing splash. Asari goes for the corkscrew moonsault but misses, and Kong hits her with a backhand for the win. And she hit that slap. And you could tell because Asari ended up bleeding from the nose. Hey, at least it wasn't a slap from any guys in Syracuse, because that would have taken you out, probably ended your career. Speaking of getting backhanded by guys in Syracuse, Shawn Michaels next up getting interviewed by Todd Pettengill. Pre-recorded, he gets asked about his injuries and thanks to fans for all the well wishes. Todd asks when he's coming back, but Shawn tells us that if it was his way, he would come back right away, but the doctors don't let him. Todd rubs some salt in the wounds by saying that he's won the Intercontinental title and tag titles, but hasn't won the WWF Championship. Shawn pauses for a second and says he's still got some goals that he would like to accomplish. So Shawn taking offense to being asked if he's going to retire. We're going to see him back soon because in wrestling, if there was any doubt for real, they wouldn't be bringing any of this up. So, yeah. Next up, we have Ahmed Johnson taking on a jobber, Farm Anderson. This match was only 2 moves long, and it was the sloppiest match I've ever seen doing these reviews. Ahmed ends it quick though with the underhook powerbomb. The King interviews him after the match about his upcoming match with Dean Douglas. Some unintelligible words here from Johnson. Imagine Davey Boy Smith and Ahmed in a promo battle. You wouldn't be able to tell they were actually speaking English if that did happen. Then they promote the first ever Raw Bowl for the New Year's night, and if my memory is correct, it was the last ever Raw Bowl they ever did. I wonder why. Next up, we have DiBiase and company interviewed by Vince in the ring. Ted predicts that the 123 Kid and Psycho Sid will be the #1 tag team in the WWF. The Kid acts like he's been manipulated by Razor Ramon all this time. At In Your House, it's going to be Sid and the Kid versus Marty Jannetty and the Bad Guy. Psycho Sid screams some nonsense, but unlike the Bulldog or Ahmed, it's great. Almost like when Backlund starts screaming his lungs out during his promos. Kind of like the same vibes here. Just crazy nonsense, but it actually gets you hyped for some reason. Almost, actually, I would guess it's kind of like the Ultimate Warrior back in the day. What the hell was he even actually saying? But everybody got behind him. Same thing with me and Psycho Sid. I have absolutely no idea what he's trying to get across, but I'm behind him. Sid says that he won't enjoy what it'll do to them at the pay per view. Then he stops for a moment, Vince looking on disturbed, and then Sid screams, "No, I'm not saying we will enjoy it! Yeah!" Great stuff. Please don't tell me otherwise. Then, from one psycho to another, taking on Bret Hart in a non title match, we get a quick vignette for Ricochet before this match. Talk about a long term storytelling. Jerry the King Lawler goes into the crowd to interview Diana Smith about the match between her brother and her husband, and Diana, surprisingly, is behind her husband more than Bret. I would have thought that she was going to give us non answers or rooting for both of them, but she was actually all 100% behind Davey Boy Smith, which that does add a different layer to the match, seeing that Diana is probably going to be ringside for their match at the pay per view. So at the beginning of the match, Bret and Bobby were just trading some technical maneuvers. And then on commentary, Jerry brings up another good point. He says that Bret is ruining another holiday season for the family. Back in '93, he was arguing with Owen. In 1994, the whole situation surrounding what happened at Survivor Series with Owen, his mom, the Bulldog, all that stuff. And now this year, Bret making his family choose over him or the Bulldog to be the WWF champion. After a while into the match, Bret gets Backlund in position for the sharpshooter. Bulldog comes running out but does not touch Bret. Bob Backlund gets the chicken wing on him, and the referee calls for the bell for a DQ. Earl Hebner is probably the dumbest referee ever, at least the way that he's portrayed on TV. Why would he call for the bell at that moment? Then, after the bell rings, Davey attacks Bret while he's still in the crossface. Earl, that is when you call for the DQ, you fucking idiot. That is my gripe with these referee spots. That's when you call for the bell. when Davey Boy actually comes into the ring and attacks one of them. Why would they do it before? But anyways, Backlund keeps the hold locked in for a couple minutes after, and then the show basically ends with Bret being laid out and the Bulldog standing tall. Doing some quick wrestling math, that means that Bulldog will lose and Bret will stand tall at the pay-per-view. So you just gotta reverse it. You just gotta take the exponent and flip it on the other side. Bulldog stands tall on the go home show, which means Bret is gonna stand tall at the pay-per-view. So I'm gonna give this episode a good grade. The last match wasn't anything special, even though I had myself up for it, knowing it would just be a bunch of holds and reverse switches. But at least Bulldog came out to stand tall before their match. Owen and Diesel were in each other's business before their match too. They didn't create that much animosity for the match though, and I still don't know why they're fighting really. Besides the fact that Diesel lost the belt to his brother, but still Owen doesn't like his brother either. So what's the point there? And then you had Sid with a Sid promo, but Ahmed with an Ahmed promo negates those two segments. So we're back in neutral. So then I would say the only thing left to consider is the Shawn Michaels interview, which was well done. Obviously, we're seeing it from the future and know that he eventually returned, so it's not as impactful as it probably was back then. But I would say, still knowing all that, the interview was fine for what it wanted to get across. That Shawn will do whatever it takes to make it back to the WWF, no matter what the doctors tell him. So I'm going to give this episode a good grade. Also, the next Raw is the last Raw for the year, so you'll see these reviews go on hiatus for about 1 to 3 months. I'm not 100% sure how I want to do it. So while this year of the WWF reviews is wrapping up, remember to subscribe, like, comment. Let me know what I can do different or add to the reviews, awards, segments, anything that comes to mind. Just leave it down in the comments and I'll make sure to not read them. So with all that being said, you're still watching this for whatever reason. I'm out. Catch you guys on the next one.